All right, ladies.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you like using iPhone? I know how to do it on Android. No, that's my personal profile.
Oh, why can't you switch?
So if you tap NEMBC, right?
Can you switch to NEMBC? Can you switch to NEMBC account?
This is the NEMBC account.
Can you make a new main one? Or?
Nah, because of the page.
Oh,
More than likely. Can you? I'll share this link with you.
Yeah.
Can you start using this link?
Start using it.
The link which I posted last time on Facebook is the wrong link because I started it and it didn't detect the camera, so I had to restart it and the link and the stream ended.
So you want me to? You're gonna send the link to me and I'll send it to the channel.
Yeah.
Right. Just send it on Messenger.
Yeah.
Each hashtag is the C.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Perth.
Yay! Some of you have been out till 3 or 4 in the morning, so which is why I'm going to ask you a question. Inside your bags, you'll find this wonderful little pack from 60 and in it there's a microphone. And my question is, how many of you, after last night, thought it was a real microphone? And then the next question, can you actually open the plastic and get at it? Anyway, we hope you enjoyed yourselves, and Western Australians are very welcoming and warm-hearted, and we thank you all for coming.
Please excuse Paul. When you're talking to him throughout the day, you will pick up his dad jokes, but there's nothing we can do about that. So, sorry, Paul. And I should have said it's Paul Paula,
Yes.
and that's because our chairman of board and safety couldn't hire anyone, he can't remember his name, so I think that's it for us. We won't do any more late jokes until later on.
One other thing is if anybody wants to come and have a look at our radio station, we're quite happy to organise, perhaps on Sunday, people come out and thank you very much and have a great time. The first thing we need to do now, of course, is welcome the NEMBC President, Nick Dinateka, to come forward and continue.
You can't hear me. Aren't we all journalists or professionals? We pay our respects to the original custodians of the land. We pay our respects to the country, members past and present. I acknowledge the custodianship of the land and seas of Australia belongs to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and has never been ceded. Permit, or welcome. I'd like to welcome you all to this year's annual conference, the NEMBC, here in Perth. As you all can see, this year's conference is all based around shaping media diversity. In the program, there's very many interesting and varied topics that will be touched upon. I urge you all to take part in dialogue, contribute, and hopefully take away some additional information that will help you in your program or your general life. I'd also like to thank the organising committee of 60VA for last night's grand opening of the committee. That is a hard act to follow. The committee has set the bar at an extremely high level for the following conferences. Maybe this is the time we come knocking on the CBS door. In addition, I'd like to thank the NEMBC executive and staff for all their work in ensuring the conference is of a high standard and interesting, and most importantly, a pleasurable experience for you all. This year's conference is a combined conference where the old generation and the younger generation can collaborate together, share experiences, or renew old friendships. Once again, welcome to the conference. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. You all know me, Russell, I think, and some of you are just me. So I think that's a good way to start this conference because we can't believe what's happened. There was like over 150, 170 people last night at the first meeting. We started off thinking this is going to be a small conference, and we've got 160 people booked to come today. There was different people coming last night. We've got 135 that's growing the gala dinner tonight. It's exceeded all expectations. And I just think that the difficult thing was to get here for some people. But we have Eddie here from Bendigo. Where are you, Eddie? There she is down the front. She's coming. Eddie from Orange. Where are you, Ben? Eddie's over there from Orange. She drove to Sydney to catch the flight here. And Cora from Bendigo. We've got, and then now the furthest away person I think is there's Hamilton. Is she here? There she is. There's some Townsville. We've got some media who come from Queensland as well, from Melbourne, Montreal, Singapore. But people from quite a number of places. Am I missing anybody further away than that? Cairns. We've got Cairns. But I think what we've got, what's made this conference so large, the amount of people here, is thanks to 6CBA. So we have 40 people from 6CBA. Can they just stand up? Okay. The 6CBA people. And now also, you wouldn't believe it, but one of the furthest away places to come is Canberra. You have to travel across 3 states. We thought the numbers would be a little bit low because Canberra, there's no way Canberra's going to do the usual thing and send 20 or 25 people, but they've done it again. They've sent almost 20 people here.
Canberra?
And of those Canberra people, there's 11 young people. So fantastic. Thank you.
We are young people.
Now we've got young and we've got old. We've got Brenda from South Australia. Brenda, can you stand up? Brenda's here from South Australia. She was one of the people that wrote our Constitution back in 1984. And we have new people here, thanks to Lottery West. We got funding to bring people in from Western Australia, from different radio stations. Now, I'm not across all of it, so anybody that's outside of Perth from Western Australia, can you just stand up? We've got people from Rogan, are they here? And we've got people from Parliament. So we've got about 15 people from Western Australia as well that don't normally come. So for you old timers that come here all the time, look after people, new faces, have a chat to people, welcome them, look after them, and make sure they feel comfortable being with us. And so that's just fantastic. Now, before I go on to the formalities, we just need to look at our e-champs. So we've got a great group of e-champs up the back there, where if you can stand up e-champs, you'll notice them from their t-shirts. But they're making our conference very live. Thanks for coming to the CBF, they're here as well. And for the first time, we're actually live streaming via that table just there. We're live streaming YouTube and also Facebook as well on those very small things. So now to move on to the formalities of the morning session. So we have, in a way, a video extravaganza here this morning. We don't have a single keynote speaker. We have this panel of experts, industry people, people that know community broadcasting to take us through the morning. And there's going to be short presentations from 5 to 10 minutes of each of the people as we go through, and then there'll be time for 2 questions. So we're going to move it through quite quickly, keep it running, make it active. 2 questions, next speaker 2 questions, next speaker 2 questions, and then questions at the end. So think about the theme. It's called Shaping Media Diversity. So we'll get people talking around different topics: community TV, Indigenous, sport, cultural identity and belonging, and post-truth issues, and youth, with Waka's talking about our youth issues. So we're across a whole range of issues, so make sure you raise questions and talk about the issue shaping media diversity. So to start with, we'll start with Frida Foster, who's the Associate Professor at the University of Western Australia, and she's also Chair of the Culturally and Linguistically Diverse Working Group. Frida has researched major topics on migration, refugee settlement, racism and nationalism, and how media is implicated in social inclusion and exclusion. She worked with 6BA to promote positive mental health messages through the humanitarian engines. Would you please welcome Frida?
Just put my timer on because the academics tend to go on a bit. So, can I just start by saying thank you so much for the invitation. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to meet a new group of people and to engage with the sector. And I'd like to also acknowledge that we're on Wajak Noa land and acknowledge the elders past, present and future. Okay, so we'll start with a little bit of sociology, because I'm a sociologist. And a key sociological theorist argued that the nation-state came into existence as an imagined community at the time of the invention of the printing press. It's a really crazy kind of notion that the idea of the nation should actually be linked to the development of a technology for media communication, basically. Why? Because the printing press allowed news and information to be shared across a whole nation of individuals who knew that each other was receiving that same information, and that information could be used in ways to generate a sense of collectivity and of social cohesion. However, the flip side of this is that the media can also generate a group of others who are not included within that imagined community of the nation-state. These others can be seen as a threat or as enemies of the nation-state. So the media creates the nation, but it can also exclude. This is important for Australia because, as we all fully aware, I'm sure, a quarter of Australians are born overseas, and half either are born overseas themselves or have at least one parent born overseas. Can I get a show of hands? Who fits into that category? Either born overseas yourself or have at least one parent born overseas? Yeah, so that's kind of almost everyone. And 1 in 5 speak a language other than English. So within this, what is the place of ethnic and multicultural media, and particularly within this notion of the creation of a nation? Our knowledge of the world is increasingly mediated, that is, it's not first-hand, through traditional and new media, and through mainstream and alternative media. And media is a game of numbers. Mainstream media, which presents this world in limited ways, has large audiences, but their power is being challenged by online platforms and social media, and to some extent alternative media. That's us, alternative media, which are an important source of minority views and agendas. I've been reading a new book. It's called Australian Media and the Politics of Belonging, 2018 book. And it reports work from a linkage grant, which is a grant that is a partnership between academic researchers and community organisations. And the book asks how media practices and coverage might be more reflective and inclusive in their relations with subjects who are individually and collectively othered, and how such subjects might be empowered, particularly in a context of the shift from a celebration of multiculturalism to the new integrationism, where there is pressure for migrant communities to assimilate rather than to retain their own identities. So we've seen in the media negative representations of particular groups, asylum seekers, for example, Muslims, and of course, people of African background. So most recently, we've had this in the West Australian, Time to be Open about ethnic crime. This was a paper, an article focused on a credit card scam, and this is identified as an ethnic crime. And the article ends with the statement, thankfully, this ethnically based crime has none of the violence that caused such alarm in Victoria. Now, of course, that ignores the fact that the whole idea of alarm about violence was generated by politicians for particular political ends. It wasn't actually real. And this reporting mirrors some reporting that was happening in 2013. This is the image that was used on the front cover again of the West Australian, with the headline, Time Bomb in the Suburbs. And this was about, again, African gangs, so-called. Concerned members of the public who work with these communities, James Barrett, for example, from the Smith family, and also the Ethnic Rights Centre, tried to take this particular article to the Independent Media Council, but they failed. The Code of Conduct, which says no reference to racial or ethnic characteristics can be made unless relevant, was seen as having been upheld in the way in which these articles were reported. And so the articles were seen to be balanced and fair and compliant with the code. Such coverage contributes to attitudes and policy that support discrimination, including racial profiling by police. The problem is partly due to a lack of knowledge on the part of editors and journalists, but it's also playing to a particular segment of the Australian population. On the other hand, we have articles that valorise the same communities as well, where they are heroically covered. And this is a problem. Both demonisation and valorisation are a problem, because it doesn't offer these communities the opportunity simply to be taken for granted as part of the Australian community. To be seen as having an unremarkable sense of belonging and connection with the rest of the Australian community. Sometimes, however, the mainstream media gets it right. We've done a small analysis of the ways in which political cartoonists challenged Tony Abbott when he was Prime Minister, his criticism of certain Muslims for not being part of Team Australia. And he made the statement that you've got to be on Team Australia. If you come to the country, everyone has got to put this country's interests, values, etc. First. You have to join our team. The nation state, you can see how the way in which the politicians use the idea of the nation state, and this of course gets reported in the media, to critique heterogeneity and to argue for assimilation. But the political cartoonists actually challenge this notion of Team Australia, encouraging people to think again about what Team Australia might actually mean. So we had cartoons such as this one, which is my particular favourite, with the simple caption Team Australia, showing a number of people wearing headgear. Abbott's comments were generated by a woman in hijab in the Australian Parliament, and it wasn't Pauline Hanson at that stage, and there was a concern about what somebody might be hiding wearing a hijab into Parliament. So this is just a subtle kind of challenging of the idea that somehow people who cover their faces do not fit within Australian society. And it's wonderful to have, well, Tony Abbott there with his budgie smugglers, but also Ned Kelly, of course. And here was another example of the same sort of challenging by the cartoonists. You can read that one yourselves. Okay, so what is the function of migrant media in this sort of mediatised world? Well, we have some idea, but we don't know for certain. We think that alternative voices, migrant and ethnic community media, provide opportunities for dialogue, an outlet for creativity, that it conveys information, of course, and in fact, Gough Whitlam in 1975 actually set up ethnic radio in Melbourne and Sydney to convey health information. So it was set up as an information conveying structure. It provides opportunities to build resilience for social and for social activism, and to link migrants with the mainstream and offer a space to develop integrated identities, and simultaneously to retain transnational links, connections with home. Most importantly, it keeps communities connected and individuals linked to each other. It reduces social isolation and provides continuity plus integration. It is the bridge between yesterday and tomorrow. This is a quote that I found on the NEMBC site in their 40th anniversary report. And I thought that's a really lovely notion, a connection between yesterday and tomorrow. In a context where we have increasing numbers of migrants and growing complexity of migrant flows with different types of migrants, temporary labour migration, forced migration, etc., and simultaneously growing hostility within the Australian population to migrants from certain parts of the world and to internal diversity, this function becomes increasingly important and perhaps more difficult to fulfil. But we don't really know, we don't actually have a clear understanding of the functions of migrant community media. So with my colleague Rob Cover, we're proposing a linkage project that 6EBA and other industry partners from Western Australia, we're going to try to get funding to answer some of these questions. We want to map the role and the importance and viability of ethnic community media. We want to try to identify the representations of community and forms of support and identity types that are encouraged in different media forms. We want to try to determine the role of migrant media in multicultural Australia, particularly in terms of providing integrative support, building individual and community resilience, resisting marginalisation and radicalisation, and as a source for a range of identities across communities of different languages, migrant generation, and socioeconomic composition. We also want to try to understand the creative, production, promotion and distribution processes, as well as the entrepreneurial aspects of migrant community and media participation in Australia and their impact on a range of stakeholders. And as a result, we would then like to develop a set of recommendations for government and hopefully to support funding to encourage these areas. Okay, so I need to finish up. I did want to acknowledge the great work that is being done by some of the organisations here. Of course, we know that the good work is done by the ABC and SBS, but we also have your organisations that form the third pillar. Amazing work done by 3ZZZ, 4TTT, 5EBI, 6EBA, Community Broadcasting Foundation, Community Media Training Organisation, of course the Indigenous media sector, which is also represented here, the Italian language newspaper example, Il Globo, and the Australian Chinese Daily, Desai Kangaroo TV, the eChamps program, who are here, Roots TV, which is an organisation here at Western Australia, the AusSud program, a media intervention in Melbourne, which is focusing on Sudanese, the Mapping Frictions Alternative Stories social media project, the New Media Community Arts organisation, Information and Cultural Exchange, which is in Western Sydney, that focused on the development of media production skills among some of the young people from diverse cultural backgrounds, and of course over 40 years of ethnic broadcasting in Australia with an average weekly airtime of 2,000 hours per week in over 100 languages. This work is incredibly important, and I know also that there's a growing awareness of the need to incorporate women's voices and the voices of young people within this program. So just to finish up, I want to make a reference to work by Tanya Draper, who has talked about the importance of community media as a form of listening. She calls this listening as a political practice, and making the point that being heard contributes to belonging and therefore to social cohesion. When I worked on a research project attempting to understand depression among migrant communities, a key theme was that communities wanted health messages conveyed to them by their own people in their own languages. We worked with 6EBA to develop such messages. While precarious and dependent on funding, etc., this was an important example of that listening and how ethnic broadcasters can act as alternative networks that build bridges of communication to other networks, challenging currently dominant networks and reshaping our sense of what the imagined community of the nation and beyond might look like. So congratulations to you all for the great work that you do, and I look forward to continuing to work with you.
So I think, thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you so much. I think you've raised a very important point there, is that, you know, the ethnic community broadcasting sector, the community broadcasting sector is a major media pillar, the third pillar in Australia. And what the problem that we face as well in our sector, in ethnic community broadcasting too, is that it's such a difficult thing to market, to get information about, because it's so complex. It's not an easy sell message. And I think, you know, having academics like yourself involved, and Rob Cover as well, and some people you mentioned that we work with, is really important to get that data and information, because we live in such a data evidence-driven world at the moment, that we need that sort of research. So thank you for that. I'll quickly go to any questions. We have a roving mic, and any quick questions from anybody about that presentation? Nobody? That's fine, we can keep moving as well. But thank you, that research is really important. It's something that maybe I'll take the time just to announce something that we just decided yesterday, is that even marketing the NEMBC is a very difficult thing to do, because I'll get on the phone to people and say, well, I see people, oh, who do you work with? I'm with the National Ethnic and Multicultural Broadcasters Council. Okay, what do you do? So we're taking on a new name, so it'll be easier to understand us when we're dealing with particular media representation and so on. We're going to keep our NEMBC, but we're going to create a new branding where we deal with media representation and the people that we deal with the AFL and what we're doing. We're going to be calling ourselves NEMBC Media. So it's just media, NEMBC Media. Oh, you're media. Straight away they'll see us as media. So it's about that, just getting that message out and trying to shape that media diversity, which is so difficult to do when we're so complex in all the matrix that we work in. So thank you so much. So now, if there's no questions, okay, we're moving on to now Wakas Durrani, who was with us last year as well, who's the Feka Youth Representative. Now Wakas is a dedicated, committed volunteer who spent countless hours since he arrived in Australia to organise various events promoting human rights and multicultural events. His passion is youth, education, employment and empowerment. He's contributed to an astonishing array of activities, not only in his academic life and career, but also in the wider community of Australia by his advocacy for human rights and people coming from coloured backgrounds. So, Marcus, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Russell. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on, the Wurundjeri people, and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to the people and to the life of this city and this region. I would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on Aboriginal land and recognize the strength, resilience, and capacity of the Noongar people to land. I came to Australia to continue education and explore opportunities for contributing to the community here. I come from a family where both men and women share a very long history of service to the community. I, like many of you, have come at a time where multiculturalism is being challenged, and when the community here needs to counter stereotypes presented by the media and some public figures. In politics, in media, in communities, there's an increasingly loud and growing narrative of misinformation and fear. One of the reasons for this is that we face many challenges in our communities and nation. Challenges that are both domestic and global. Globally, we have challenges of war, nuclear arms race, terrorism, refugees. We have issues of climate change and global warming. Nationally, we have issues of increased cost of living, unemployment, social security, aging population, and a shifting workforce. Faced with such stress and uncertainty, we want to blame someone. or something, and increasingly, that blame is directed at the other, the visible but often broadly defined minority. Screen Australia's findings, released in August into cultural diversity, disability, and LGBTQI in Australian television drama are timely. Whilst the research indicates some positive progress, it reinforces the growing national discussion about the lack of diversity in media and the need for a change. As media organization in a country where over a quarter of our population was born overseas, there is the responsibility to the audiences to represent the nation's diversity. It is also just good business, but it needs to be moved past the consideration of diversity in its simplest form and embrace its full spectrum. From ethnicities, cultures, sexual identities, and disabilities through to the presentation of varied ideas and perspectives. As a sector, there is also a need to address the lack of opportunity for actors with disabilities. Storytelling serves to break down stigmas in society, and it needs to be looked into to actively make decisions that increase disability representation in the programs and the creative workforce. Ethnic community broadcasters play a very important role in building and maintaining a harmonious and successful multicultural society. Broadcasters provide essential information and cultural services to communities across Australia. Community radio encourages creative and representative participation in media that's an alternative to mainstream media, valuing community interests, needs, and local culture. Authenticity is the most important thing in storytelling, and the engagement of creativity from diverse backgrounds can only enhance the richness of our Australian stories. We need to actively tackle barriers to diversity, both on and off screen, to create a future industry that is properly representative of our people, communities, culture, youth, and future. This is the collective responsibility of all of us, including policymakers and program makers. To the youth in this room, I would like to let you all know that how important your today is, your now is. The names you give to yourself or others call you are just labels. You're not identified by them, no matter how flattering or uncomplimentary they are. What defines you genuinely is your heart. It is you who gets to be the master of your own fate. It is only you who gets to be the captain of your own soul. And if you just manage that, there are limitless opportunities and possibilities that are waiting for you. Don't let your fears become boxes that enclose you. Open them out, feel your fears, and turn them into the greatest courage you are capable of. Life is a blessing, and you only live once. Make all the efforts you can to abide by its beauty, and it will not let you down. Together, we need to lead conversations. We need to build relations. We need to work even harder and more deliberately for the success, both social and economic, that we know multiculturalism is and continue to be for the belonging and participation of all people. To the youth involved in broadcasting. Ethnic broadcasting can help young people to share issues and develop campaigns. FECA, which is the Federation of Ethnic Communities Councils of Australia, the organization that I represent today as youth chair, and NEMBC need to encourage young people to get involved. They want to be engaged, but they need to know this is a safe and nurturing space for them to have different voices heard, have a say on things that matter to them. Experiences, perspectives, and ideas of young, culturally and linguistically diverse people are valid, and it is the responsibility of ethnic and multicultural community broadcasting to meet their needs. Young talented people need to be empowered to speak out and take action in positive ways, and this needs to be encouraged. In today's media, if you look at the television, you would hardly find any individuals from multicultural backgrounds, and that is where the future and the youth needs to focus on. For the leadership to come from within, there needs to be a platform for representation, for the youth to be seen, to be heard. Australia is a successful multicultural country. with people of all ages from all around the world making wonderful contributions to our society. However, young people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds can experience really challenging issues that have a negative impact on their engagement and outcomes. Racism and discrimination and barriers to meaningful employment are still problems that need to be resolved. Ethnic community broadcasting is an excellent way for young CALT people to have their voices heard, make positive changes, and shape the future of diverse media. Youth can reach out to other CALT youth and develop campaigns that are relevant to them. By representing themselves, they can be empowered to shape the future that they need and want for the coming generations, and for a more prosperous Australia. Thank you.
Thank you, Wally. It's so important that young people that are our future, so thank you so much for that. Are there any questions to us at all? Okay, is there the microphone just coming? And I'll just grab this. Just while that's there, so many of you must know that we have a youth committee as well, and we have a women's committee. So that youth committee that we have, can work with Becca quite closely. So that's great to have Marcus here again, and the NEMBC values our youth so much that we've had that committee for many years now. And as we all get older, me included, those young people are going to be really important to come through. So G-Man.
Yes, G-Man from PKND in Melbourne. Cool and deadly. Yes, youth is the future of media, of broadcasting. It's the voice of the future. And you talk about all these issues that are out there, which I'm sure that most of us know those issues. So what's the answer? What are you doing to allow those opportunities and those pathways to open up?
Look, for these opportunities to be presented for the youth, you need to be proactive. You need to work collaboratively with the other people in the communities as well. At this stage, if you look at, for example, just the television, and the only diverse person that comes to my mind is William Bell. So for youth today to be involved, to be out there, they need to believe in themselves. They need to, I believe, that they need to maintain their connection with their ethnicities, because it is part of their identity as well, and that's more for people from the second generation who've been born here. So it is important for youth to have their identity, to maintain that identity, and at the same time be able and be willing and open in integrating with the societies. Now, we've got different organizations such as NEMBC, PECA, the Ethnic Communities Council of each of the regions. PECA in particular, we've got a youth committee, and in our youth committee, we've got representatives from every state. Some of the things that we work on this year that I have focused on was the National Youth Week, which was held in every state across March and April, I think. And that's when we had different activities in every state. We encouraged our committee members to hold events in in their own states. In Tasmania, because I'm from Tasmania in particular, we had articles which were published in the Mercury. So that was ensuring that the word gets out in the media. Mercury is one which is very well read in Tasmania. So obviously these are some of the avenues that we presented to our community, to our youth. But this is something which needs to be worked on progressively. All of a sudden, with PECA, like I can't do something which completely change the future of tomorrow. But it is for youth to believe in themselves, to put themselves out there, to seek opportunities, to seek mentors, and it is for the elderly people in this room as well. That we don't have to separate them as the age population and the future. They need to work together, they need to learn from them, and they need to maintain their identities with the environment they come from, and then portray the best of it to the Australian mainstream community and integrate, of course.
Thank you.
No, I don't need a phone. A microphone. Sorry, I forgot the name. I'm Edie, I'm from Orange, and my question is, I was educator, multiple try educator in the preschool and daycare in the Central West, Buffers, Orange and Blighty. This was 8 years ago, 10 years ago. What my question is, I got my own kids as well, 3 Australian kids and growing up here. My question is, are you doing something in connection with the educational system in Australia, or are you doing something? What I mean is, are you doing something in connection with the educational system, where educational system should be involved in educating our kids? I mean, in general, because as my experience in the Central West as a multicultural educator, I'm not a teacher, but I was educating all the activities and some other countries as well, in the cultural side. My experience is that it's really very important that the kids are exposed in the countryside. I'm talking about countryside because Orange is already Central West and far west is close. And I found it when the kids are, someone is there to teach them, to educate them, or to be exposed with other culture, they respond very well. And before I was educating in the preschool and daycare, the kids really look at you because you are new, your new face, and yeah. I want to know if you have if you have a connection with you're doing something for the educational system of Australia in general. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. So FECA is the Federation of Ethnic Communities Councils of Australia. It is the national peak body which represents individuals from CALD backgrounds and non-English speaking backgrounds. It works, we've got different committees, and such as the Asian population, the rural and regional area committee. Then we've got youth, we've got women's share, and we've got new and emerging communities share. So each one of us has different portfolios, and we focus on those particular portfolios. So in terms of education, we don't really have any specific portfolio as such, but we do work across policy formation of anything that affects individuals from CALD backgrounds. Education is one of that. At this particular stage, the whole buzz is around India, and some of the immigration policies, the citizenship changes. These are the things that FECA has been focusing on. But education is obviously something which does get touched upon by the youth, through the youth committee or the new and emerging committee or the regional and rural areas. As such, we don't have anything specific right now where we're working with individuals from countryside or the educational system as such, but definitely this is something which I can pass on to them. But another thing that I'd like to mention that is that, look, in terms of many of us from different, from multicultural backgrounds, we speak more than one language. But if you look at, and it shows that, if you speak more than one language, it's good for the brain, and it shows that those kids are really good at learning as well. But none of that gets celebrated, none of that gets out, But on the other hand, recently, there was this picture of Princess Charlotte that, she's learning another language and how wonderful that is. Whilst that is wonderful, but all of the individuals from multicultural backgrounds who speak more than one language, the mother tongue is different. Then after that, the mother tongue is different, your national language at times is different, then we speak English as well. So it's wonderful to see that, to have that connection of our own with the identities that we've been born with. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually something which needs to be celebrated, and that's the diversity which needs to be represented. So, yeah.
Keep the questions coming for at the end, we'll still have time for that. So, academic, shaping media diversity is very important. Young people shaping media diversity is very important as well. And now we have Maximo Perez-Torres, who's actually shaping media diversity in a very different way through sport. He's one of our AFL reporters, and he's going to show you some things that we've been doing if you've been watching our website and seeing what we're doing with the AFL. So he's a passion for sports, led him to start a new profession as a media broadcaster and video producer. His current position is director producer of a sports show in Spanish for Radio 3ZZZ. Has given him the opportunity to cover sporting events continuously. He has experience in coverage of both amateur and professional competitions such as AFL, NBL, A-League, Australian Open, Formula 1, MotoGP, and I'm sure it's always coming. So, Maximo, over to you.
So thank you, Russell, and thank you for NEMBC for giving us this opportunity to talk about sports. And thanks to all of you to be part of the community radio. As a producer, as broadcasters, it's always very special to talk about the sports and talk about the community radio. So it's, I'm going to talk about this sports coverage that is about all the things we can do as a community radio and where we can, the things we can achieve doing a proper job. So a limited opportunity for community radios means that we are able to do everything we want, everything we really want to do. So basically, we don't have any kind of limitation. When we think about community radios, the first thought is, okay, we can go to the Formula 1, we can cover this sort of events, but it's not true. It's possible to do that. The only thing we have to do is just go there, and grab them. So I'm going to talk about this. So ethnic and community radio, there are three elements that are very important for us in this journey just from a community radio in 3 people said. We were covering only a very small part, just local and community sports. And our journey just to transform a community radio, the coverage of sports, to something much more bigger. So with commitment, with passion and professionalism, we were able to do it. Commitment to communities is very important to realize and to be aware that we are a community radio and the communities are behind us, supporting us. So every single time we go to a sports event or wherever, we try to be aware of the community and the communities behind us. At 3%, we are representing more than 150 different communities. So we are aware of that. So commitment to our colleagues. Every single time when we work, we try to work as a team. So teamwork is very important. Commitment to yourself and to work. So it's something because we are volunteers and we are not supposed to be professionals, it's very important to know that you need to have a commitment, a very strong commitment with all these 4 elements. And the other important part is the passion, and passion for what you are doing. And in this case, it's passion. We are volunteers, we are not professionals, as I said before, and it's very, very important to have this passion, because if not, it's impossible to achieve anything. And in my case, or in 50%, is a passion for sports that is very, very important. And this passion took us or brought us to the next level. Professionalism is through mentoring, training, and practice. Mentoring, when I joined 50% 3 years ago, I was very lucky because I had some good mentors, and these mentors showed me to respect the community radio, the meaning of community radio. And so from that point, it's really recommended just to have a good mentor, not only a good training, also a good mentor. Is to learn how to do the radio. It's very important to know how to do radio, how to produce programs, how to broadcast. It's something very, very important. And practice is the professionalism when our approach every single time we go to an event or we try to cover an event, a sports event, it has to be, even that we are volunteers, we try to do it as a professional, in a professional approach, and it works. So nobody, when we are with other commercial radios, commercial TVs, and we are together at the same place, nobody knows that we are volunteers. They think that we are professional as them. So when I joined the 50%, basically I'm part of the Spanish group. The Spanish group is, we are 18 communities, we are representing 18 different countries. So the sports program just was basically just covering popular or local sports and related to 2 or 3 communities. Chilean community, the Argentinian community, and that's it. So when I joined the 3%, I saw an opportunity, and a group of us, we saw an opportunity to do a different coverage of sports, a little bit more. So community and local, we stayed with community and local coverage. Also, we had a national coverage that is very important, not only competitions, also events and international events. So you can see some of the examples about the community coverage. So community and promotion in this case, a handball tournament presentation as 3%. Here is something of the joy with solidarity. This is the Spanish team, in Fury, the Spanish team. They play a competition called Harmonic Cup 2 years ago, and we support this foundation. It's called San Felipe. It's one of these rare illness that there's no any solution. So we were supporting this during 2 years. And local, you can see another example of local coverage. This is Australian Open, a governmental Victoria event, renaming the Melbourne Arena. We had the opportunity to go there, and not only go there, we could interview netball players, basketball players. So every single time we go to one of these events, it's possible to interview players, it's possible to talk with the authorities, it's possible to do many things. This is an example of national competition, A-League, something that at 30%, we at 30%, we are very lucky because we got the accreditations for A-League, for AFL, and different national competitions, Super Rugby, and other competitions. And we go there, and not only we attend the games, we have a coverage through social media, through Facebook and Instagram, and also we, for example, here is Gabriel with us, Gabriel De Angelo. He's writing at Facebook very good articles about the A-League and about AFL. So we are doing more than just attending a match. We are interviewing the players. We go to the training sessions, the different teams, the training sessions. We talk with the coaches. It's possible to do something else than just going to or attending a game. Another example is this guy is Guillermo Amor. He was the coach for Adelaide United when they won the competition 2 years ago. They did, and we could talk with him in a group of people during 20 minutes to talk about football and his life. So it's another thing we can do as community radio. It's possible to do it. It's just go there and try to grab it. And another one, and this is a very good example. This is Super Rugby. We are supporting Rebels, and we are supporting also the Argentinian team. But with Rebels, this guy is one of the best Australian rugby players, and the other guy who is doing the reporting, he's one of the 30% members. He's not part of the podcasters. He's not a producer, but we are giving opportunities to some of the members who are experts in one sport, a particular sport, like in rugby in this case, to come with us to the games and be part of the community radio, reporting, interviewing players. So it's working very well, and we are extending the number of members doing this sort of things. Here is another one. Is when we met Chris Evert. Probably most of you know who Chris Evert was, and 18 Grand Slams winner. So she was very special. For me, it was very special because I fell in love with her when I was a kid. It was just to be in front of her, just to say, Chris, and like 10 seconds to say something, just yeah, it was unbelievable. But it's another part. I mean, we are sometimes we have the opportunity to go, not always. We are covering the Australian Open, yes. 4 days, the German group, 4 days, the Spanish group, the different groups are 30%. We are covering the whole tournament. But not only it's going to the to the matches. Not just covering specifically the tournament. There are many events around the tournament. They are quite different. So we have the opportunity to meet this kind of people. I mean, legends of tennis legends, or there are many. I mean, for example, Smith, the captain of Dex, the former captain of the Australian cricket. Another event with him and around it. So there are many events every single year. So we go there, and not only the broadcasters, as I said before, we got broadcasters, producers, and members. But it's very important. We are giving the opportunity to the 50% members to join us and enjoy this moment to be with this, with tennis players or sports important people. So this is the final of the women's final at the Royal Labour Arena. Simona, I love it. Simona Halep against Wozniacki. So we were the opportunity to go there. Not only one of us, several of us, we have the opportunity to go there to the grand final. But more than this image is really nice. It's really cool. You are there, and so oh, this is fantastic. But even before the grand final, we had the opportunity to be part of or to be to attend the training session, the particular training session, both tennis players. So we had the opportunity to talk with Simona and Caroline before the final. So it was a very good experience, and it's only possible because we have the accreditation, and we always try to do something else. Another one, this is Formula One, the official press conference. Here of the boxes. It's not easy to go there, but 30% is doing that. Here is another example of international, is MotoGP. I had the opportunity to meet this guy. He was 4 times world champion in motorbikes, and he's probably the best team manager, the current team manager. He's a legend in motorbikes. Another example of how we are trying to integrate our members in this journey just in the sports. The guy who is to the right is Kini Cabeza. He's a huge supporter of 30% in different levels. Always trying to add new members to the team, trying to support in the radiothon, all this stuff. And he's a huge fan of motorbikes. So we invited him to come with us this year to Phillip Island. And you see that there is a magazine and a book on the table. So he showed that to Alex Cribillet. It was a book about Alex Cribillet after winning the first World Championship. So he was sharing with Alex Cribillet his treasures, and it was a very special moment. At the media box, we were able to get Kini and put him in the media box. It was very special. So it's part of the things we are trying to do. So different platforms is very important. Not only, obviously, we have a live radio show, as most of you, but more than that, because we are covering all these events, we are creating a lot of content, a lot of interviews and images, videos, many things. So we saw that we needed to do something else. So social media is very important. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we are active, especially in Facebook and Instagram, not only in the sports show, most of the programs are 50%. And the podcast, you can hear our show from everywhere, anytime, so that's very important. So you see here the different coverage, the pages we have. And accreditations is all about accreditations, as Russell said before. And when you approach or you try to get an accreditation, the first thing you have to do is to see the opportunity. Not everybody can see the opportunity. You have to pay attention and check, okay, maybe this is an opportunity for us, yes or no. After that, it's just trying to do the application. I received the support from the radio station. It's very important. In my case, I received support and all of my team from John, our manager at 30%. That it was very important. Gary Gandhi over there, and Fee, Russell, so many people supporting us to get some of these accreditation that some of them are not listed. Contents, as I said before, with this coverage, we are creating lots of contents, very interesting contents, and we are sharing this content with all of our audience and followers. And benefits of this, we are learning giveaway tickets, cooperation with organizers and clubs, and members' active participation. So we are not only learning doing this business, and some of us became professionals after a while. So it's something very important because we have the opportunity to cover such a big amount of events that is, yeah, I think it's good. Yeah. So we are learning, and it's something worth it because the reality is some of us are now working as professionals. Giveaway tickets, we are getting lots of giveaway tickets from the different organizations in the clubs. Cooperation with organizations and clubs give us the chance to go there and just to cover not only the games, also the training sessions of this stuff, and as I said before, the members' active participation. Different examples, cricket Australia, impossible to get an accreditation, but we are still working in that. Australian Open sometimes is difficult. Soccer, there are many accreditation tips. But this is very important. Never give up and be constant. We received probably 3 or 4 rejections from Cricket Australia. We are still pushing to get an accreditation with them. They say that we are not cricketers, but anyway. There are many approaches, different approaches. Don't take them for granted. If you get an accreditation, it doesn't mean that you are going to get the same accreditation the following year. So it's very important to be focused and trying to repeat and to be there and keep contact with organizational clubs to get that. Don't take them for granted. And we are a community radio, and this is very important. Sometimes from inside our community radios, people say, we are just a community radio. In our experience, when we say to these organizational clubs, we are a community radio, it's unbelievable, the reaction. They say, a community radio, yes, we are releasing programs, in our case, in 70 languages. And it's unbelievable, the reaction. It's extremely positive in the real to. We have to be very proud of being part of a community radio. So a limited opportunity, go out and grab them. The best evidence can I talk about the IFL? 2 minutes and then is your project. The best evidence of all of this is the IFL cultural project. IFL and NEMBC. It was a great idea from Gabriel and Phil and Russell. It was an unbelievable idea. They worked very, very hard to get this deal with IFL, and now we are doing this project in 8 different languages. That is amazing. Not only in English, Spanish, Mandarin, Hindi, Dinka, Greek, Italian. It's unbelievable all the things we are doing. And these are basically multiple languages, 8 languages. We are doing the commenting in these 8 languages. Snippets and podcasts. That is, Gabriel is there. Yes, is the person in charge of this. Interviews, we are going to the rooms, and we have the opportunity to talk with players. It's something that from outside it sounds difficult, and thanks to this project, we were able to. I mean, we are doing basically the same things. Community commercial radios and the rest of the radios are doing. We can go to the rooms, be with the players, interview the players. So it's unbelievable all the things we can do, and radio and TV, obviously. We have some examples. It's up to you. I mean, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's finished. Yeah. Yes, a quick presentation. So, convention training session with Brad Finch. We are receiving a training that is very important. This is yeah, the Hindi group doing the commenting from the NCBA. Okay. So this is an example of a snippet. The volume is not working, sorry. It's a video. Sorry, an audio. So basically, the below is we are a community radio, and keep dreaming, no limits, and just go out and grab all the opportunities we have in front of us. Thank you very much.
Community media people can talk longer than academics, I think. Thanks, Max. That's really great. I know, because Max, we got Max involved because he just has that passion, as you can see, which is technically broadcasting, so thanks. But so he's talking about a project which started some year and a half ago with our operations officer Viva approached the AFL, and we started with funding from the AFL to do some radio programs every week of news coverage of the AFL in we started with 4 or 5 different languages. We got more funding, then we got funding from the CBA. Last year we did the whole AFL, and then we did the last finals on TV and turned the TV program into a radio program. So that AFL program is going to now, thanks to CBA funding, it'll be the whole AFL series next year on community television in Victoria, Adelaide, and in Perth. Weekly news reviews. That'll be in English. We need to find ways to insert languages into that particular English program. But we'll continue then to put that back into a radio program, and that goes out to a Dropbox, and people can get that. We have 20 radio stations replaying the language programs in 8 different languages. So that's going to be all happening next year. And here's a new announcement as well. I think we can make this one. Not many people know, but with the funding we've got to do the AFL, we've realised that we can fast track the process of 3 hours to produce the AFL TV program. So we're going to do 2 hours to produce it, and we've got an extra hour, we're going to put a soccer program in the A-League. So we're going to be doing A-League as well next year. And that'll be 6 weeks of A-League. So other people from other states that don't like AFL still want to pick up the A-League, it'll be available as well on TV and in radio. And if you look what we're doing, is by in your bags, there's the magazine. On the front page is Aware, and she's at the MCG doing a live call of a game in Dinka. That's a world first, live calling in Dinka at the MCG. So Arabic was last year, that was the world first. We picked up the South Sudanese Dinka language this year. So that's really going well. Now, I don't follow AFL much, to be honest. For me, what's interesting about this is the model of what we're using. And the model could be anything. It could be fashion, it could be the arts, it could be a whole range of things that we could be doing because it's using social media, TV, radio, to find a whole range of different things. So we have on our website at the moment, you can go to our website, it says media representative. You can click on that and sign up if you want to become a media representative for the NEMBC. And in some ways, our broadcasters are all from 3ZZZ. Without 3ZZZ, we gather that this wouldn't be happening, the things that we're doing. But we want to be able to work in other areas, arts as well. And I'd like to be working in politics and getting people interviewing politicians. So there's a whole range of things that we could be doing. If you're interested to work with us, sign up and become a media representative. And we'll contact you and find out what your interest is. And if you're doing a program, in Bendigo, then you sign up with us, and we'll try to make your program broader nationally. Put you in a magazine, put you on our website. We can promote what you're doing and try to link you with other like-minded ideas that we can then start to work in arts or fashion or politics. So it's the model that's interesting for me. So sign up, and thanks to CBA funding, we've got the opportunity to now branch out from 3ZZ. We've got funding for 6 people to come to Melbourne and do training in live calling and get involved in the AFL program as well. So we'll be going to Geelong or Seth over there from Townsville might want to come down and get involved in the AFL. So yeah, so sign up for that as well, and you can see Peter to talk to you about that. He's signing people up for that today if you're interested in the AFL. I'm getting involved in that next year. Okay, so all right. So any other questions about any of the issues that have been raised today? And we'll go for the morning tea break at 10:30 and come back and hear from the other 3 speakers. But any questions? Yep, over here.
Hello, Max. Congratulations for the success and showing all the outputs they have been doing in terms of contacting different sport codes. Why do you think it's the main reason why Cricket Australia has rejected you more than once? Considering you have a big success with the AFL and considering cricket is going down the routes compared to the other codes?
Probably because they are still, there is some, I'm going to say this carefully, but some, they are a little racist in this way. When I told them I'm coming from Spain and I'm a huge fan of cricket a long time ago. Something weird, but it's real. And I said, we would like to introduce or we would like to promote the cricket within our communities, the Latin communities. And it was the first reaction said, it's bullshit. Basically they said, you are coming from Spain, this is rubbish. There's not any interest in Spain. And I tried again and said, okay, the Latin community and there are many members of the Latin community and other communities that they really like cricket, not only has to be part of the Anglo-Saxon or from India or whatever. And the same answer. So last year and this year we tried from 3%, the Indian group and myself, and it was the same answer. So they say, okay, it's true that some of you are coming from India, and it's the number one sport in India, but you are a community radio. So probably it was the only group or the only organization that told us so directly that we were community radio. The rest of the organizations, as I said before, they are really interested in working with us because we are community radios and we are multicultural. So it's something, it's the problem they have a problem in Cricket Australia. The reality is we've seen for the last year and 2 years all this stuff around the Cricket Australia. So same with rugby union in Australia. There are some problems with the organization inside, and sometimes it's difficult to deal with them. So it's an example. Super Rugby, they say no, but through Rebels and other teams, it's possible to do the same. No? With Cricket Australia, we'll see we can do something with NEMBC and similar to the project with AFL and League. We'll see next the upcoming years.
Hey Max, how exciting is outside broadcasting, one of the biggest things, most important things to community radio. Love what you all are doing up there as well. And of course, being Cool and Deadly in Melbourne, the only Aboriginal network, we like to talk about those opportunities too with you.
Yeah, no, in fact, with Multicultural, for example, our first approach to AFL last year, at the beginning of the project, was just Aboriginal players and players with a multicultural background. So that gave us the opportunity through the media managers to talk about our project, and this year was much easier because we had the opportunity to interview all kind of players with all backgrounds. And last year, we were focusing on that, just Aboriginal players or multicultural players, and it was unbelievable because nobody, or there's not many media groups who are interested in interview them or to know something else about them and all their backgrounds.
Hello, we are.
So for us, it's part of the success of this project is because we were able to manage to integrate absolutely all the communities in Australia. So 30% NEMBC and AFL is one of the examples of a group, organization that they want to do something else, not only the Anglo-Saxon community. They want to go further, and it's an example for the rest of the organization and codes. If they join AFL and just do this sort of things, it's very important.
Yeah, we did some work. There's a question. We did some work. We tried to also. We worked with 3KMD and GMAT to try to get a live sporting game at the Dream Club at Gather. That didn't work out, but hopefully next year as well.
Hi, I'm Rosa from River FM 92.9, and I'm in Lismore. Have you ever thought of actually involving the youth organisation in what you're doing? And maybe I'm a big promoter of languages. I'm a language teacher, and I see that languages are being taught throughout high school and primary schools. I think is where they need to go next. They just need to do it younger and earlier for it to be a successful thing. Sport is something that interests so many young people, and yeah, maybe involving some of the youth people in the
Yeah, we are doing that with women, for example, this year. We started a new segment in our show, and it goes more than our show. It's just about sports for women, women's sports in general.
Yeah.
So we are trying to approach to all the clubs and community, local communities, and just that they are women playing or practicing sports. So we invite them to our show. We try to cover their events through the Facebook live sometimes. So we are very supportive of that, and with you this is the same. Basically, we love, we have the passion for sports. We love to interview young players. We had the opportunity to do it with world champs, 16, 17 years old sailors. They won the world champ, and we had the opportunity to interview them in our show. So we try to approach them, and with something we will see if we can go further in that way.
Fantastic.
Okay, so we're dead on time for 10:30 for morning tea. So morning tea from 10:30 to 11, and then we'll come back and hear from the other three speakers in the same